So I want to talk a little bit about the hazards that we get as a result of earthquakes and volcanoes. So we'll start off with earthquakes. When we're thinking about the hazard associated with earthquakes, the primary one is ground shaking. This is the main cause of the problems associated with earthquakes, and it generally causes buildings to collapse, which is what causes the majority of deaths and injuries. Ground shaking can also cause things like the gas pipes to be ruptured, sewage and water supplies to be damaged, electricity lines as well. All of those are primary effects, so they're direct effects of the ground shaking. If we think a little bit about secondary effects of the ground shaking, once those gas pipes have burst, we could get fires. Also, if the sewage line is damaged, underground pipes, then we will get contamination of water, which may cause illness later on. Obviously, another secondary effect of building collapses is going to be that people are made homeless. If we're thinking about earthquakes still, and this does apply to volcanoes as well, obviously the effects are probably going to be worse in developing countries than in developed countries, because let's say, for example, in Japan, buildings are designed to withstand earthquakes, and so they've been reinforced. In a poorer country like India, that hasn't been the case. Also in Japan, the electricity and the gas and the water pipes are all set so that they shut off if there's an earthquake, so it automatically happens, and that prevents some of the secondary effects I've just discussed. If we think about volcanoes, we need to think about things like the lava. Whether that's sticky lava or runny lava. Sticky lava won't travel as far, runny lava will travel further, so that can be a hazard. We've got ash, which we get at explosive volcanoes, very fine particles of material. That can do several things. First of all, if it lands on the ground, it will cover up all the crops, stop them photosynthesizing, so they will die. In large quantities, it lands on top of buildings, it can cause them to collapse because, although it might seem all nice like snow, it's very heavy because it's made up of rock. If we breathe it into our lungs, this is a problem. It kind of sets as concrete in our lungs and causes people to asphyxiate. And if we had a super eruption with lots of ash, it can get into the atmosphere and it could essentially block the sun's rays. This may have been what killed the dinosaurs, cause a mass extinction. Also with ash, if it lands and then gets wet, so maybe in a tropical storm or in heavy rain, it can then turn into a laha, which is a mud flow, and that can travel really quite fast, engulf buildings, trap people as well. We can get volcanic gases given off as well, which would obviously poison people. They tend to happen or only have an effect in quite a small area, maybe if people live near caves or cracks in the grounds, but obviously with gas it does disperse into the atmosphere. And then finally, really, with volcanoes, we've got our pyroclastic flows, which are huge sort of avalanches of burning hot material, ash, volcanic boulders, lava travelling at maybe 100 miles an hour that engulf everything in their way, and they can travel quite a long distance. And that's what people kind of associate with Pompeii in Italy from Mount Vesuvius about 1,000 years ago. I did mention volcanic bombs, large pieces of material from explosive volcanoes as well. It's also worth noting that we can get tsunamis. Generally, these are a result of earthquakes, destructive plate boundaries, but we can also get some earthquakes caused by large landslides of volcanoes, for example those volcanoes in the Canary Islands. So hopefully that will help you, give you a little bit of a think about the different hazards. They're not specifically examined, but I do think it's handy to have that kind of backup.